Second.
वेलकम टू अपना कम्युनिटी। ये वो जगह है जहां आप अपने असली पोटेंशियल को एक्सप्लोर कर सकते हैं। देखो, सबके पास स्किल्स होते हैं, पर क्या आपके अंदर वो स्पार्क है जो आपको कामयाबी की ऊंचाइयों तक ले जा सकता है? अगर आप सोच रहे हैं जॉब चेंज करने के लिए लेकिन रेज्यूमे सेलेक्ट नहीं हो रहा, या फिर इंग्लिश में इंटरव्यू देना थोड़ा चैलेंजिंग लग रहा है, तो फिक्र मत कीजिए, यहां हम हैं आपके साथ, आपको सपोर्ट करने के लिए। अपना कम्युनिटी में आपको मिलेगी बेहतरीन कम्युनिटीज जहां आप अपने प्रोफेशनल स्किल्स को सुधार सकते हैं। चाहे आप एक्सेल, टैली, जीएसटी में माहिर बनना चाहें, या फिर आप खुद एक ब्यूटिशियन या डिजाइनर हैं, तो यहां आप अपने काम को शोकेस करके दूसरों को टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स देते हुए आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। अपना कम्युनिटी में आपको मिलेगा मेंटर्स का एक खजाना और बड़े इन्फ्लुएंसर्स का साथ, जो आपको हर कदम पर 1-to-1 गाइड करेंगे। यहां आप ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं अपने फील्ड या इंडस्ट्री स्पेसिफिक ग्रुप्स, जहां आपको ऐसे कई लोग मिलेंगे जिनसे सीख के आप वो गलती ना करें जो वो कर चुके हैं। ऐसे लोगों की जिन्होंने स्टार्ट किया था एज एग्जीक्यूटिव्स एंड आर नाउ सक्सेसफुल मैनेजर्स इन देयर डोमेन्स, जो आपको आगे बढ़ाने में मदद करेगा। यहां आपको मिलेगा वो सही डायरेक्शन जो आपकी करियर को नेक्स्ट लेवल ले जाएगा। तो लेट्स अनलॉक योर पोटेंशियल टुगेदर। अपना कम्युनिटी में ज्वाइन करें और अपने सपनों की ऊंचाइयों तक पहुंचने का सफर शुरू करें।
Hey guys, you're able to hear me. I hope. See a message. Aman, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. So I'll just quickly wrap everything and hand it over to Aman. So this part of Apna Community Exclusives in association with QFUS. We are hosting this series for the last couple of months. It happens on weekdays at 7 p.m. and like weekends, Saturday, Sunday, like this, between 3 to 5 p.m. We cover a variety of topics. Like today is about mobile development such. So the main objective is to help you familiarize with industry standards and help you grow professionally. So today's session is about cross-platform mobile development with Flutter. So for this session, we have Aman with us. A quick intro about him. He's a senior Web3 engineer at Medium. He leads the development of groundbreaking tokenization platform that democratizes access to hedge funds and high-value investments. He has several years of experience as a mentor, and he has helped freshers and professionals alike. So we are glad to have him with us today. Thank you so much, Aman, for joining. Before I hand it over to Aman, a quick reminder, guys, if you have any questions at any time, please use the chat box. When Aman is answering the questions, we'll also allow you to unmute yourselves. If you're joining in from your phone, go to the in-call messages option. There you can see the chat box. अगर आपको कोई भी सवाल हो, आप चैट बॉक्स का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं। आपको अनम्यूट करने का मौका भी दिया जाएगा। अगर आप अपने फोन से लॉगिन कर रहे हैं तो आपको फोन में इन कॉल मैसेजेस एक ऑप्शन दिखाई देगा, वहां पे आप जा सकते हैं। आपको चैट सेक्शन वहां दिखाई देगा। तो या अमन, हैंडिंग इट ओवर टू यू।
Thank you, Siddharth. So hey everyone. So let's start directly at so I would start with like an open question, and you maybe like give me hands up, like how many of you are familiar with like any kind of mobile development, like Android, iOS, or like React Native or Flutter, like any kind of mobile development? Okay. So yeah, some of you are. So as traditionally how have been the mobile development space has been through like in the past decades has been, we have two different platforms, Android and iOS, and for both of the technologies you have to code in separate languages. Like for Android it was primarily Java and then moved to Kotlin, and for iOS it was like you had earlier Objective-C, then now the entire iOS system is on Swift. So as the startup culture rised, there was a needs of like fast development, and As the team size were very small, new technologies grew in which a single code base can be used to develop both Android and iOS platforms. So that there are two very primarily technologies in cross-platform development. One is React Native and one is Flutter. So React Native is based on very similar web technology like React, and Flutter is a development tool developed by Google, and React Native is from Facebook Technologies. So these are the two major giants which have invested and helped doing cross-platform mobile apps. So why I need Flutter? And so imagine if you're running a startup and you have like two developers and you just want to ship two different apps. So instead, so development time would be like if you develop in iOS and Android separately, that would be two systems. And you need one developer specifically, and iOS similarly. So it say if you wanted 1 week in Android development and 1 week of iOS, so in the same time you would be only having say one feature like login. If you have developed on separate platforms, only one module of each login would have been developed. But in case when you work with a cross-platform mobile application like Flutter or React Native, so you will imagine all your developers or your engineering is working on the same code base, so the development time is doubled. So that's how the culture of cross-platform mobile applications started developing with the rise of startups, because for fast development. So you must be all using a very famous application called Google Pay, like to use your UPI transactions every day in India. So Google Pay is based on Flutter, as it's a Google technology. Google has heavily used Flutter in their own applications like Google Pay, Google Ad Mobile, and other similar Google applications. So Pay has also previously built on like separate applications like Android and iOS, but later they shift the entire code base to Flutter, because in case of development where you have to ship bugs or anything, so you solve once and it will replicate on both Android and iOS. So let's see what Flutter is and how you can like be starting your career in that. So we just saw like advantages. Why do we need that? First, the most promising advantage is fast development cycle. And now, and customizable widget. So it's not like drag and drop material that we see on the daily basis in like no code tools where you pick and drop. It's basically the code. So how you write in Dart. So Dart is the programming language used for Flutter, and then natively it get compiles to both different technologies for separately for Android and iOS. So it's not like your how React Native or any other web technology would work, that it renders a browser in your mobile application, and then the web is the same web interface. It's actually creating your interfaces from the ground up. So that's what uh, made Flutter very efficient in then comparison to React Native and other web-based cross-platform mobile application. That was uh, primarily the native speed. So say Flutter is very like fast, not as fast you could say like a very native things, but it's very closer and comparable to the native, and way faster than the web-based technologies, its counterparts. So Flutter versus Dart. So Flutter is the programming framework or the framework that is used for creating mobile application, and Dart is the programming language used for it. So if you see React or any other web thing, so React is the framework and programming language is JavaScript. So here similarly, Flutter is the framework and Dart is the programming language. So Dart is very similar to how we write object-oriented code in any other language, be it Java, be it C++, Python. So it's very uh, like high-level language and very like not that hard to learn as well. And it's a general purpose programming language. So what does that mean? It's just not limited to Dart like Flutter. You can use Dart for developing backend applications, developing web applications, any other applications as well, or writing scripts or any other thing. It's primarily used in Flutter and made popular with Flutter because Google used Dart for Flutter, and that's how is all like a rise of popularity also gained. But it's a general programming language, and it can be used for different stuff as well. So that has a very similar structure to Java and object like C++, which is very object oriented language. You have all the concepts like classes, inheritance, like, and all we have traditionally learned as a programming language, and all that applied to Flutter. So when you write a code in Flutter, you have objects of each thing. So imagine you are developing a user interface where you have a button, you have a header, you have a text. So all these are objects of a different uh, thing. So you will create a text object, you will create an object of a button. So you would not like write everything very natively in terms of I want this. So I'll draw a button. It would be a box or a pixels draw. So that all like low level thing, Flutter would take care for yourself. It will by using like different classes and widgets. So everything in Flutter is called a widget. So what is a widget? So widget is any object that you see. So if you imagine a mobile application, so from the each object that is rendering on the screen um, is a widget. So let's just see. So say you're seeing the screen. This is I think the application of BMW. So from wherever you're seeing, everything is a widget. From this icon to the text to the app bar, then image. So all these components you can develop separately and then use as a widget. So every component is independent in terms of like you can develop that component as a different class or object and then use everything all at once. So it's very modular as well. So you don't have to rewrite a lot of codes. You can create custom widgets, you can create custom designs based on your uh, like theme and brand styling, and then use them in developing your application. Developing a Flutter application is very fast and simple. If you want a basic application like a counter or something, you get a lot of stuff which is pre-built for you to use. So if you want a text, you would just create an object of text and pass it, and you then have options to style it in different ways. So you can pass size, font, and there are different properties to it. So every object and widget would have different properties in Flutter, and that's how you will make changes to UI. Is why providing different values to properties which are already defined and have some base value. So right out of the box, it will still look better, but then you can customize it. So that's why the development is very fast. To get MVP and to get things out quickly, it's very simple. And it's just not limited to Android and iOS. The code you write on Flutter, the same code can be used to create web application, a desktop application, or a iPad application. So any screen, whatever a screen is, you write a single code base, and it can be shipped to all devices, even like watches. So you don't have to learn different platforms like separately. Uh, it might be limited to some use cases. In some use cases, you want to prefer the native stuff, but that would depend on like your business case and your technology use case, in which if you want to use a lot of sensor, or if you want to use a lot of inherent native stuff, in that case it might be like a way to go for native. But otherwise, if you want to like have a quick thing running on all devices, like an MVP for an MVP or a startup, or even like in enterprise, you can use Flutter to launch application on different screens. And the main thing why Flutter also started getting popular is, as there are a lot of inherent Google services that we anyways use to develop an application. To launch, we use Play Store. For backend, we use Firebase. There is Google AdSense, Google Maps. So all these services are very seamlessly integrated, can be used, like just importing like package and using more widgets, custom packages, to like use these services out of the box. And so that's why like for ad stuff and like having Firebase, you don't have to write too much code. Is all natively provided uh, as Flutter packages. So that's why the development cycle gets very, very fast. So as I was mentioning, the Google Pay uses Flutter. So that's a very high intensity application that is getting used. And so that also proves that Flutter is made for scalable apps as well. There, it's not just meant for creating like MVP and startup applications. It is also there to create applications which is used by masses. So there are a lot of companies, eBay, Dream11, uh, Groupon, Google applications itself, BMW, Alibaba. So these are like famous applications that you have already heard of. So these are applications in your mobile which is developed on Flutter. And it has a very high supportive team from Google. So for in case of funding to develop, it's an open source project, but it is heavily backed by Google in case of funding and like maintaining the project. So everything initially on the Flutter has been written by Google team, and still there are a lot of engineers that supports the Flutter. So as it's open source, there is no like fear. If Google wants to shut this project down, what will happen to my business or my project? There is a lot of community, and the project would still be maintained as it's open source and available for everyone to use. So current version 3.24. So you would see a lot of uh, updates also coming out on the Flutter community. And so that's why the thing is very popular. So there, how you can like start learning Flutter. There are official guides from Flutter. Uh, you can go to the like Flutter dev .dev and go to the installation guide. You can install Flutter in your system, and along with it, you would have to install some other sources like Android Studio or Xcode if you're running on Mac, to provide the framework and simulators to run Dart code. So, or if you just want to learn Dart for a while, like as a programming language, you can go to Dartpad, and you would get an interactive interface to like run your code. So, so this is just like simple code for like a Fibonacci series. and this is how you also write codes for like maybe C++ or Java. Um, so it would print whatever the number 10. So this is a recursive program written here. Um, you can go to the syntax of Dart. So it's very similar to different languages, which you have functions, you have return types, variables, and as other all languages, the executions always start from the main function. So let's say very simple basics Flutter application. So yeah, that's it. This is Flutter application and can be like shipped as a mobile application as well. Just it just shows text, but um, there you see the amount of code that you have to write to just is very less in terms of doing stuff. So if I go here and say, so when you want like different stuff, so everything is like there are different widgets. So I just added a column widget, and then it has a property called children, which is array. So array would take widgets of array, so in which you can pass any other widgets. So I just passed three text. It can be a different uh, widget called button, or say let's see what are some basic widgets first, then we'll come back here. So in primarily, widgets are divided into two different categories, which is material components and Cupertino. So material components is basically design language, a thing for Google or the Google oriented stuff, which is like you see on Pixel devices, or like material UI, which is a design language created by Google. And Cupertino is basically design language created by Apple. So if you want a very Apple looking devices, you can use widgets from Cupertino. And if you want like Google looking interfaces, you can use material. Or if you want your own styling, you can use any and then override any of them. So for anything that you have to do, you would have widgets for accessibility, for animation, for asset images. You want input, um, you want anything here, you would have a widget that you can use. And even in terms of uh, the tutorials which are available. You can see like new widgets or custom widgets created by the community that are getting like sourced into the Flutter community, and Flutter would like also tell if there is something that you can use and which is like new. So it can be a new package. So they run a widget of the week program in which every week they would like just showcase some new things, maybe developed by them or the community. So let's say go to basics widgets. So there you see everything you want in your application. You can have it from here. Um, so say let's use elevated button. So wherever you need something, you just need to know about the widget of that uh, thing. So let's say there is this elevated button. I want to copy this and we'll add to the program we were developing. Right now, as I don't want any action, I'm just passing null as on press function. But this should give me a button right away um, in my system. So you can use buttons, you can use other things. So you can go to like the docs. There would you would find examples of every widget that you want to use. Uh, what are the properties available for that widget? How you can make them, use them, customize them, and what are the different similar widgets. So like we used elevated button. So elevated button has would have like this shadow depth effect which feels like it's elevated. There are different kinds of button for say field buttons that would be like would not have that elevated depth of shadow. So that's how like major of the applications you can use. So I'll just pause here for like getting some questions, and then we can like deep dive into what other widgets are and how you can write a very basic application.
Guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask हमें. आपका कोई भी फ्लटर मोबाइल डेवलपमेंट से रिलेटेड सवाल हो तो आप पूछ सकते हैं. आप अपने आप को अनम्यूट भी कर सकते हैं. यू कैन इवन अनम्यूट योरसेल्व्स. You can put it in the chat box also, whichever way is comfortable for you guys. Yeah, Aman, I think you can continue the session. We'll get back to the questions. Sorry, Aman, I think you're on mute.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So let's continue. So let's do a thing. Too much theory, too much information, right? Let's just do some fun stuff. Let's just write a small program, and let's see what we will need. So in mobile development, wherever you want to like start any application, first thing is to maybe you create a wireframe or something that will give you what you want. So say we want an application that would say, change images on click of a button. This is something random I'm just thinking right now, and um, let's just see what it will take to create that application. So we need a button, and here, and on the click of the button there should be an image here that should change every time. So let's try to write this thing. So let's remove this text, children's first, so that we have our elevated button. So elevated button will also take a child of text as widget. So you can add styles to this widget. Maybe like if I want to have a style, um, so I have to pass an object of text style, in which I can maybe like pass font size if I want a bigger. So if I make it as like 24, um, ideally the button size should increase, the text inside the button. See, the button size automatically increased as I increase the font size. So this means it also takes account of the size of button, the padding between text and button automatically for you. Um, so it maintains that look and feel. So as we need image component here. Um, so in any language, if you we say have something, um, as we want to circle between images, uh, we need something to like store image data. So right now, as we don't have any database or something, let's just create like array of strings, which will save the data for us. Okay, and then we'll like circle that array. So let's create a variable called image database, which is an array. So in which let's just go and like add some images. So let's just say let's add some Marvel images. Let's just get copy one image in new tab. Let's just add this image. So let's just try first loading this image itself. Um, so as we need image, so we need to need a image widget. So let's just try to find image widget here in the docs, and let's see how we can use that. You can file all the widget list here in the docs. Um, um, let's go FI. So we should have image. So as we are using a web URL, we would need to use image network widget. in case if we have downloaded that image and used inside our application like stored, we can use image.asset. So right now we'll use image.network. So let's just copy this. If we run, it should load at least one image here. So my image is above elevated button. So it got rendered above elevated button. I want some space between my button and the image. So let's add a size box of say height 25 pixels. It should add space between my button and image. See, we have some space between my button and image. And let's just, as I said, it's already rendered the image. Let's just copy this image and add it to our image array. Now, let's try to use the first image we have in the image database. So in array, we can always call by the so it's a arguments of a constant creation must be constant expression. Try making argument of the valid constant use a new. Okay. So let's just see how the network image works. So network image takes an argument of a string, right? Let's see if there are any other way to create an object of network image. So as or we can use network image.network like this. So let's see. Let's just try using this. And I want to pass the image of image database. So it's saying I have a const here. Do I have a const written somewhere? I don't have a const. Let's just see why it is giving me this. Yeah, so I have written const here. So as I'm using a dynamic variable here, I can't make my object const. So in case where you have a static UI and you don't have, you know that you would not need any change at the runtime. You can declare your like any widget to be const so that it the Flutter knows he don't have to like re-render the that very often. See, now I have the Marvel image here. Now what we want is on the click of this button, the image should keep changing. So let's see. For that, let's then let's call it here index and create a variable called index. So this would add a concept called state. So let's just see what state is. So state is basically state of your application. So anything change that you want and any reflection of that action is, if there is a change in your application, that's it's called a change in state of the application. So you have to define states. So now, as on the click of this button, we want to change the state of this application, right? We want to change this index. So let's create a variable called index and assign it 0 first. Now, let's on pressed. Let's say we wanna change the state. Um, so to change state, there is a function called set state. So let's see set state from here. So this is a syntax for set state you can use to change state of your application. Let's add it here. I want to change my variable index and say index, we want to circle between 0 or 1, right? Every time we like, let's do index plus 1 and let's apply a modulus operator for 2, right? So in arithmetic, if you know, the modulus operator would give you reminder. So if we do a modulus operator for 2, it will either give you 0 or 1 as a reminder, right? So let's see how to add a modulus operator in Dart. So modular operator is the same percentage operator here. So it says method set state is not defined. So that means we need to add something that we haven't as of now. So let's see if we need something. Yes. So as we want to use state function, we also need to make our application stateful. So let's add that to our code by calling it stateful. So let's see an example of a stateful function, stateful widget. So stateful is also widget. So let's copy this, which is the syntax for a stateful function, and let's add it to our. So right now, my app is a stateless widget. So that's why we can't use a set state function here. So we need to make this stateful function. So let's just make our this called Marvel app, Marvel image app, which is a extend a stateful function. Let's do some changes. Now every stateful function would read a state. So say let's call our my app here to be Marvel app state, which extends state for our Marvel app. Marvel image app. So let's change this off here. Let's call this, as we have changed our app name, we need to pass main function our app name, a Marvel image app. So now, as we just move our function from app from a stateless widget to a stateful widget, now you see the error for set state has been gone, because now in stateful, our set state function is available. So now, as I have now passed an on-press method, you see my button also got give me response, which was not earlier. Um, let's just call this change image. So it ideally should change my image. So it's not. So there is some issue, because we let's then try to like debug what's happening. Um, so my set state function set my index to index plus one. Let's try printing our index here. So let's check if our index is changing or not. So let's add maybe button like text here, which shows index. So index is an integer. So then you need to use string to make your index an integer. Or you can do a method called toString. So right now our index is 0. Let's change. Let's see if it's changing or no. This means it's not changing. So that means our function is not rendering, re-rendering. Let's go to the elevated button once. Let's see if our button is getting clicked or not. So on press takes the things like this. which we should already have done. So this it's not changing. I'm have maybe like this is maybe an issue with this dart pad. But that's like a basic gist of like an application that you can easily write in Flutter. You can write your logic here, and as we saw, there are different widgets that you can use um, to create an application. So yeah, that's how you can easily create some applications with Flutter. Um, so any like questions or anything like in terms of Flutter or mobile development as a career or as like something that you want to ask anyone?
Guys, we have Aman here for a few more minutes. So, any like you mentioned, anything on the career end or tech part, please use this time. Before that, just a gentle reminder to fill the feedback form. I've shared it multiple times. Before you leave, please don't forget about that. So, yeah, coming back to the topic, any questions, anything about mobile development, Flutter, anything about Aman's experience, any question? You can also unmute yourselves. Well, maybe you can share some tips on how to they can look for careers in Flutter. Is there something they have to add on to this technology? Can you hear me, Aman?
You know, was there any question, Siddharth? Like,
No, no, I was just from my end, I was asking you, you can maybe add on something on a career opportunity where how they can approach Flutter as a career and or is there
yeah.
something they should add on to this? How what would you
So, yes, in terms of career, like how I started Flutter was when as it was new, and I think I was working in HP, and uh, I started exploring Flutter. I could create some applications based on like uh, my thoughts or for any startup, or like quick prototyping. So you can do quick prototyping. So if you're doing right now, there is a lot of things in terms of technology like AI or anything, right? So you can use mobile app as an interface to provide those technologies. So that can also add as very good projects to their resume. So if you are using an OpenAI API, or if you are using any like other blockchain or any kind of different technology, you can wrap it around a mobile application to like use as a your major project or like showcase. Because when you showcase something, it gives you visual effect to any recruiter, to anybody. And as mobile is a platform which is like not uh, that very simple in terms of like creating a website, which like now anybody can do with any tool. So it just adds a lot of like depth to your resume, because you have an application that runs on mobile. And in any startup that you can see or any company, they all have mobile applications. So in terms of job as well, it's not that very traditional job that will come to your campus, but there is a lot of job opportunities which are available in mobile space that you can like explore by your own, get an internship. And then also it's easier to get internship as uh, all comes to demand and supply. So demand and supply, there is a lot of demand, and supply is like not taught in colleges and not taught. Everybody will go for web applications. So you can easily get internships with in mobile domain because yeah, the demand supply is a little off than web technologies.
It's a very interesting point, guys. So I think we are ending on a good note because I think that would have been very valuable to a lot of people who are just focusing on, like Aman mentioned, web development. There are a lot of opportunities out there. You can also reach out to Aman on LinkedIn. He can definitely guide you guys on the proper direction. But with that, we have unfortunately run out of time, so we'll have to conclude today's session. Just a second. Yeah. So thank you so much, Aman, for joining us today and for sharing your expertise with us. I believe everyone found this session useful who are listening keenly, and also I think this will be very useful while watching the recordings as well, because they can pause and have a look. So thank you everyone else for joining in and making this a successful session. Final reminder, guys who are here, please do fill the feedback form. I've shared it in the link a couple of times. It will really help us improve these sessions and also help us plan for the upcoming sessions. It's a humble request from the team and the mentors. Please do fill it before you leave. For such sessions and for upcoming sessions, you can visit the Apna site. There you'll have an exclusives tab. You can go there. You can see the recording of this session, the past session, and also the sessions that are going to be held in the future. You can check for upcoming events also there. You can register. You can also register in the Apna community where you guys are a part of. You can see the posters and all there. So as mentioned earlier, we'll keep having these sessions every day. Tomorrow we have at 7 p.m. Hope to see you all there. Thank you again so much, Aman. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.